Thank you, and I'm proud to have the opportunity to come and talk to everyone here again on behalf of the House as well as on my own behalf here too. And again, I also want to thank Senate President Teresa for really taking the bull by the horns, if you will, and really pushing forward that agenda. I think Jamie's absolutely right. It really creates again, I'm sure there's folks on my side that might feel squirmy about it, but I think it's really helped in that way to get some of these things moving, get this stuff moving early enough on that it gives folks time to see that there's some momentum and get those things moving in my chamber as well. I think that works both ways, and so hopefully we can make some of our colleagues squirm and get those things working the other direction too.
Sounds good.
Yeah, no, we definitely want to work on those pieces along the way. And I do also, but also let me recognize too, a relatively new representative, but I think also a longer time environmental champion for the state, and somebody who's really pushed very hard towards some important things around things like carbon pricing and renewable energy pieces, which again I know he'll talk to you about. But Rep. Regenberg, I'm really excited to be able to be here with him as well. And again, Senate Majority Leader Ruggiero as well, because of his hard work on expended producer responsibility and issues around that, which I think are going to also be very critical. Because I feel like the Senate President really helped us sort of cover the broad pieces. Let me just reflect quickly on a few things, because as Jamie mentioned, the Resilient Rhode Island Act, I was excited to see it in the news a little bit this year because of its impact. I'm hoping on some of the things happening here in the state in a real specific way, up in Burrville in particular. But surprisingly so, I was really kind of excited to see how we were really able to see that sort of a policy, being able to see that in action, see that sort of moving something forward. And it really does help to, as somebody who often, a lot of the bills that we pass, you don't sort of see them sort of in a real visceral way having an impact sometimes along the way. And it was gratifying to see that it had that impact. It was something people were taking into serious consideration in that equation. People were testifying on it up there. So I was proud to see that. Again, I also want to thank all, because it's far from just me that worked on there. There's countless people on the Senate side, but also yet many more countless people out in the community that helped us to get that across the finish line so quickly in 2013. And it really did take a village to move that one forward, and so it was something I'm proud to have been a part of, but also excited to see how much has happened with it. And I am working, I know, on things like Regenberg's carbon pricing, my own efforts on things like trying to push hard to make sure we're really walking the walk here as a state. The governor's, I think, done a good job on trying to set up the administration of the state to be that sort of lead by example kind of piece, but I want to keep pushing it and really say, we really do need to walk the walk. We need to demonstrate that. We need to not just talk about these things, we need to actually do these things. So it's exciting to see the things that she's pushing around efficiency and renewables. I do want to make sure that all state buildings going forward really have really are aggressively looking at resilience and carbon mitigation as we're looking at those kinds of substantial construction going forward. So again, I'd urge everyone to push the governor, myself, the Senate President, Jamie, everybody to continue to push those things, because it makes more of a difference than you realize, I think, when you even talk to somebody that you know is a supporter, when you remind them that you're interested in that and pushing for that along the way. And I didn't want to forget to mention the water, because I do have so much concern about people's confidence in the tap water and the drinking water. It's even in the House and the Senate, you watch some we're drinking out of bottles all the time. And I have tried to push, and I've been pushing a little harder now too, to see if we can find some alternatives to that. It's a small victory in that sense, but it's so vital to me to have people not look at you funny when you say you're drinking tap water out of the State House taps, or people that are buying water because they're afraid of what's coming out of their tap along the way. And so it's so important that we continue to really watch that stuff closely and try to make sure we've got policies in place and the infrastructure in place to make sure that water is important. It really is a human right. We want to make sure that people do not have, that we don't come anywhere near what's unfortunately happened to the poor people in Flint. I mean, it's just obscene, and such an abdication of government's responsibility there. I want to make certain that we're pushing back at here. I don't want to make everything super negative in a sense, though, along the way, because I really think that there are a lot of exciting things that we're seeing happening. I think there's a lot of exciting opportunities going forward. Greg and I were talking about this compost conference, and it's taken a little while, but the regs are coming out for that. I think that'll be an exciting way to divert a lot of waste from the landfill along the way. It's, no matter what anybody says, eventually it is going to fill up, and we've got to do everything we can to divert from it, but also, again, everything we're diverting from it is also still reducing some of the carbon footprint issues there along the way as well, and I want to remind people about that. So, again, there's always more things I could chat to you about along the way, but I do want to remind everybody it's an election year, and there's so much opportunity to shape people's opinions when they're coming back into the State House back in January. When you're talking to a candidate, ask some questions about these things. Don't forget about it. Don't just say, yeah, no, thanks. You know, if there's somebody that you know is 100% with you, Art Handy's your state rep and comes to your door and you think he's 100% with you, still ask him about those things. Ask your senators and reps about those things. So I can't emphasize that enough. It makes so much more difference than you realize when we're only talking to so many of you guys over the course of a year, whether it's environmental folks or folks worried about public health or poverty issues. And it sticks with us more than I think you realize. So I want to urge everybody to do that. And I want to thank you, in fact, for all the work you have done on that over the years. That's, I think, helped Rhode Island really move in many ways to a great direction. We do have much more work to do. There's plenty of things to be angry about, but there's so much to be proud about our state, too. And I thank you very much, and happy birthday.